This is the Aftermarket Radio Network. Welcome to Remarkable Results Radio. This is Carm Capriato, your pioneer of automotive aftermarket podcasts. Hey, consider this podcast your personal blueprint for success and networking. I know it works. You know, the entrepreneurial operating system has been highlighted on the podcast with a 7-part series featuring Barrett, a certified EOS implementer. Now, the EOS system enables owners to get the most out of their business using 6 key components: vision, people, data, issues, process, and traction. We did episodes on all of that. It's easy to discuss and learn, but how does it really work in the real world with real people at different levels of business? In this episode, you'll hear from 4 shop owners that have implemented EOS in their business and their success stories with it. Hey, thanks to our partners Apex and Shopware for providing you this episode. Imagine walking into a simulated real-world shop environment with 8 service bays, lifts, and vehicles where you can see product demos, talk capabilities, benefits, and actually how to use all of the items in real time. Well, welcome to the new Joe's Garage at Apex 2021. It's November 2nd through the 4th in Las Vegas. Frankly, there is still time for you to register. It's aapexshow.com. Make the plans, get it done. I hope to see you there. Hey, how much paper have you touched today? Well, those are piles of time stacked all over the shop. Now think what you could do with all that time and how many more cars you could get through the door. Cha-ching! It's time for a digital shop management system on the web. See my friends at getshopware.com. I'm here for you and advancing the aftermarket, and I so care about sharing the insights and wisdom through the voices of service aftermarket leaders. Remember, we all learn faster when we teach each other. Hey everybody, Carm Capriato. What a fitting tribute to the 7 episodes that Barry and I did on EOS. And one of the things that I said to Barrett was, let's bring a panel together that's been implementing EOS and let's talk about how they've changed, how their business has changed. And Barry, I'm going to let you lead off a lot of this because I know you're the expert. Who's with me is Barrett, an EOS certified implementer. Hi, Barry. And Carl Hutchinson is here from Hutchinson's Complete Automotive, Springfield, Missouri.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. AJ Neely, Neely's Auto Service, Edgewater, Maryland.
Good morning.
Justin Barrett, Barrett's Automotive, Cornelia, Georgia. And Jeff Walter from Zimmerman's Automotive Tire Pro Auto Sales and Service. You do a lot over there, Jeff.
It's a pretty big location.
Good to have you on. This is going to be exciting. As you know, we serve the automotive aftermarket, and we are the best kept secret to personal networking and being a fly on the wall. And you're going to say, ooh, I can't wait to hear what's going on. I've heard so much about EOS. I've read the book Traction. Can I do this myself? What's going on? How do the guys implement it? And how do they all just only work one day in their business? Yeah, I figured I'd get a little laugh about that. So, look, I've introduced the team. Barry, I just want to tell everyone one more time, we did a 7-part series on EOS, how EOS helps owners, the vision, the people, the data, the issues, the process, and traction. Those were the 7 episodes. And what I did is I put a special collections page on my website. So if anyone would just love to dive in it, you can either find a logo called Collections or go on the Resources tab to Collections, scroll down, and all 7 episodes will be there, and including this one. This one will show up there when we release it. So Barry, thanks for being here, my friend.
Thanks for having me. So you want to start it off, one thing that I'd like to start off with is our first core value in EOS worldwide is help first. So if anybody needs help learning how to implement it, questions, all they have to do is call, set an appointment. And our really core value is help first. We don't ask for any money up front. There's nothing to do. It's just help first. How do you implement this? Whether you want to implement it by yourself or have an implementer is really up to you. And so that's the first thing that we'll start off with. So, to get started, EOS is designed to do 5 things, and it's really just live the EOS life. And that's doing what you love with the people you love making a huge impact on the world, being appropriately compensated, and then having time for other passions. So that's the 5 things really EOS is designed to help you as an entrepreneur, business owner get. And it's designed to help you get what you want from your business through leadership team development and working with a leadership team that is cohesive, having fun, getting things done, because rarely do people do that. We do that with vision, traction, healthy, vision, where you are, where you're going, same page, rowing in the right direction, the same direction. Health or traction, using timeless principles, tools, discipline, and accountability to execute on that vision when it's discovered. And then healthy, working together as a cohesive team, having fun, getting things done, because rarely do we see leadership teams do that. And from there goes the leadership team, so goes the rest of the organization. So that's what we're doing. These 4 gentlemen have done an excellent job of executing EOS in their business, and that's why they're here today.
I know all of you. I know how hard you work on your business. When I found out that you were part of the EOS program, I wasn't surprised, because I know the passion that they have to run a successful business. And I have to tell you, ever since, I read the E-Myth years and years ago. And when I started to get into the EOS series of books, I kept saying to myself, this is the blueprint for how to work on your business, not in it. So I know these guests were handpicked by you. They're all working it hard. I'm going to let you start working the room here.
Good. So the first thing, I'll go to Justin, and Justin has done he said something to me. He said, I told him I was talking to Gino, and he said, well, tell Gino that because of EOS, I'm just bored in my business. And now that's tongue in cheek, because he has big visions of where he's going. So Justin, I just want you to tell me and the audience, how does EOS help you get your time back and live the life that you want to live?
Well, implementing the EOS systems into our business has really helped me focus on where my strengths are to move the business forward and get everyone working in their strength areas. So we got the service advisors doing their job, and I don't have to be involved in that. We got the techs doing their jobs, and I don't have to be involved in that. And it was really refreshing. About 8 weeks ago, I hooked the trailer up to my truck. I come to the shop. I locked my toolbox. I rolled it out the door onto the trailer, strapped it down, took it home. And that was a very freeing moment that I don't think would have been possible without implementing EOS into the business. Like I said, tell Gino that I'm bored because of EOS. It is tongue in cheek, but it's partially true. There's a lot of times at 2:00 in the afternoon, I'm like, wow, I've got all my tasks for the day accomplished. Now I just need to focus on, another location, really strengthening our processes, checking in with everyone. Okay, what are you struggling with right now? Where do you think we need some improvement? It's been fun. Sometimes I do get a little bit bored because everyone's doing such a good job and there's nothing for me to do. But it really allows me to focus on the big picture and growing.
So, now we'll go to Carl. You're one of the people that really decided to have an integrator and elevate yourself to the visionary role. How has an integrator helped free up you to create and cast the vision and grow your business?
Well, having that key person is huge. You don't realize how many things that you do personally within your business, how many roles that you actually do until you throw them on the wall. And that way everybody can see, wow, you do payroll, you do finances, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the hiring, you're doing HR, you're doing, you're trying to coach the service advisors. You're actually out there underneath the hood and all these things. And they don't realize how many things that you have going on in your head. So having that number 2 or that integrator is huge. I mean, it's just unbelievable. When I first offloaded the HR process and the interviewing part of it, it's like, wow, I don't even know what to think. We just hired 2 people and I don't even know who they are. And it's like, how is that possible? And you have to go out into the shop and go, and you are, and, introduce yourself to them. And it's like, I wasn't involved in any of that other than just, processing the paperwork. So Yeah, having that number two is unbelievable when you start unloading those duties and all of those questions that filter up to you being the decision maker are now stopped. They're just stopped. All of that stuff, somebody else makes that decision, and only the really big weighty ones come to you, or the ones on the leadership level come to you. Having that person in that position is unbelievable. I don't think people realize how much stuff they do until all of a sudden they don't do it. And it's like Justin said, I feel guilty sometimes. I mean, there are times it's like, I don't have to go in today. I don't know what to do. I mean, and it's weird. So you go find something to do. You go run 100-miler or something, but you figure out something else to do. So, but no, that's the struggle with that. All of a sudden you offload all those things and everybody talks about it. I mean, I can remember for years, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And nobody does it. But when you finally do it, it's just so relieving. And it's just amazing to have that person that is, I don't want to say doing the dirty work, but it's the guy that gets things done, or the girl that gets things done. It's that person that gets things done. And, they're the ones that hold people accountable. And you don't have to go out after you get to a certain level. You can't hold everybody accountable yourself. There's just no way to be in everybody's daily business, their training, their family, their, coming in late or doing the great things. There's just no way for one person to do it. And that's having that integrator, that person to do that. That is fantastic.
Weighty decisions. You said that. Could you give us an example?
I've pretty much empowered everybody, especially in the leadership roles, that, if it's something $1,000 or less or something like that, you just take care of it. You just make that decision. If it's satisfying a customer, if it's buying a tool, if it's, I don't know, fixing a garage door or whatever, I don't need to be involved. I just don't. The things that I need to know are the overarching things. Hey, the building's on fire, or, we'd like to buy a new AC machine because 1 is not enough or 2 is not enough around here. Those are the kinds of things that come up to me to make those decisions. Or do we buy a second location? Do we hire another person? Do we discipline somebody on a bigger level? The most of the disciplinary stuff is held at the integrator level or even at the leadership level. But there are things that has to be rolled up into my position. And, yes, I sit in the visionary seat, but I'm also still the owner. I mean, you still have to make those weighty owner decisions. So, I've not offloaded everything. I've not gave the checkbook away. So you still have to do those things.
One follow-up question for Carl, because it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And talk about how your team outvisioned the visionary.
So, yeah, that was part of our, I don't know, what is our 2-day annual? Mm-hmm. And basically, I went in with a preconceived idea of what our 21 vision should look like. And with growth and pretty much had it all mapped out, because we have to do that to do any planning. I'll be real honest with you. I was told to sit down and shut up and keep my opinions to myself and let the leadership group make the decisions. And they tacked on $200,000 they tacked on $400,000 to my vision for 21. And it's like, holy smokes. But it came out of their mouth. It didn't come out of mine. And that's one of the biggest things about EOS. And anytime that I try to coach anybody with it is like, your ideas are only your ideas. Your leadership team trumps your ideas, and they have a much bigger vision than what you do. And it's amazing when it comes out of their mouth and they say, this is what we can do, and this is how we can do it. And I don't know. I just sat there with my mouth open going, I don't know how we're going to do it, but I'm going to tell you what's real. And, we settled on a number that was real, but we're working the plan.
Carl, did EOS allow you to get that second store?
Oh, amen, brother. Amen. Yeah, we'd never be in that second location. Me and my wife pretty financially okay at this point with this location, so it would be easy to ride this thing out. But our core values don't support that. Our core values don't support Carl and Maureen retirement success. That's not our core values at all. Our core values is growing leaders, and you can't grow leaders in one location. You don't have enough seats. So you got to start expanding seats. And if you're going to hire people in with the idea you're going to train them and elevate them, you got to have a place for them to go. So we had no choice but to grow, to add on to the building, create new seats, buy another building, start up another location, buy, whatever. I don't know what all the future looks like at this point, but you have to have places for people to go, or otherwise you're making promises that you'll never fulfill. And I don't think that's right. And that's one of our core values is creating leaders. And that's one of the things we live behind.
I love it. So we'll go to Jeff because, and I remember Jeff and Judy, they're such great people. I've known them for a long time as well. And I know they were having trouble, getting into the business and being semi-retired, I think is a big deal. Jeff's the visionary there. Judy's the integrator. And when you meet them, you know why. Jeff loves a shiny object. He's never met a shiny object he doesn't like. But tell us how, I love the story where you guys, within 6 months of EOS, you were able to go away for a month. And you didn't know you were going to do that, but I know you told me a funny story one time where you thought they were looking for your opinion, and they were really updating it, and you came to the shop trying to Superman cape them. You had all the answers, and they were like, "Well, we already solved that, Jeff. Tell us about that."
Well, the whole story is that Judy and I were both out of the office, and I was at meetings, and I was on my way back, and I called her to check in, and she said, there was a major happening at the shop and you need to go over and make sure everything's okay. What had happened is they had the team had to fire 2 employees immediately on the spot, not just 1, 2. It was based on a zero tolerance policy, and it was in our quick lube. And when you take 2 people out of the quick lube, it's a major deal. So the one part of the leadership team that looks over the lube, he came to the other leaders and said, we got to shut down. And they said, that's not an option. And they took care of the issue. And I remember so clearly walking in the door, expecting to see everybody pulling their hair out. I met with smiling faces, the joking that usually goes on. And I walk into the lube, and there's my daughter with her smiling face out of the bottom of a car changing oil. She's part of the leadership team. And I finally went to one of the other leaders. I said, what happened? And they told me. And I after I got everything, I says, well, morale here, it seems like it's going out the roof. They said, yep, we're in good shape. Everything's going smoothly. And I called Judy and I said, why am I here? I said, I don't even know why I walked in the door. Quickly did a couple things in my office and I went home. And they handled it totally. They didn't need my opinion, didn't really want my opinion. And I was happy that I didn't have to give my opinion. But it was a great experience. Just short while ago, that would not have been. I'd had to go in and pull all the pieces together, and it's so freeing.
Love it. So I'm going to move on to AJ the Magnificent. We call him the Magnificent because he did 100 miles in 23 hours. He's a 100-mile graduate. Next level. So AJ, how has building a cohesive leadership team changed the game for scalability of your business?
Yeah, well, thanks, Barry. First off, I do not recommend going out and running 100 miles. So I'll just put that on record. But that's behind me. I know we throw around the word game changer a lot. So I'll just say it's been a game changer for us because it's allowed me to delegate and elevate a lot of duties, again, from wearing all the hats, right? And so to be able to compartmentalize your leadership team into certain functions, right? Sales, we've got finance, which is actually my wife's role. We've got ops, which is Jason's role, and Kenny's on the sales side. Then I also have this locations manager, management role that's also existing. So I've got a lead on each. and they're all responsible for their core processes. They're all responsible for holding their own L10s. They're all responsible for having the quarterly conversations. All the tools that are in the toolbox, they are each responsible for that. So there is, of course, an onboarding phase in getting them up to speed, because they've all really just been entrenched in those duties, right? Being a service advisor, being a technician. And now we're kind of adding this additional layer of leadership and management to hold people accountable, right? So it's been a learning curve, but we really started this. We went EOS pure, I'd say, about May of this year. And Barry, of course, came out and did the first quarterly with us. And we've had a second one since then. But that's how we've gained traction, right? We're having the weekly L10s at a leadership level, right? Like Jeff and others have said, there's just things that I just don't hear about on a day-to-day basis, which is great. And so it's really only the big issues that need to be discussed at a high level with us in the leadership group that we just discuss, and we can solve and IDS it, right? So all of these tools are, and it's funny. That's what I love about EOS so much, is that, the majority of us are pretty much all technicians by trade. We just know how things work and put together. And these are literally drawers in a toolbox, and you're pulling these tools out and you're just using them wherever it's applicable, with whatever issue you have, however you need to solve something. It's just, that's the beauty of it. It's fun.
That's fantastic. I love it. So follow-up question to AJ. And so he's one of the few people that in the beginning did it without an implementer, which is an option. Like, you can do that. And we encourage you, if you want to do that, you should do that. So AJ, I want you to talk about, the vision traction organizer. You had that filled out, and I know, Help First, you and I talked about it long time ago. And, you called me as a Help First, just a resource. And then I was like, hey man, let's do this. You put together that. So basically AJ did Focus Day, VB1, VB2 on his own. And then, I'm so happy to be working with him after that. So how was it before? And you were self-implementing. And then how is it now? What made you the decision to go from self-implementing to implementing? Like, just walk people through that so they understand, A, how to self-implement, and then B, the pros and cons of both.
Yeah, certainly. So self-implementing was great to get things going, right? Because I really wanted to implement all these tools and things like that. And it's, one of the big things that you had mentioned, Barry, is that, everyone kind of thinks that you need to start with the vision first. And, when you really told me about it's actually should be traction first, that's when I realized, I kind of did this backwards, right? I did, with your help, of course, Barry, we developed the VTO, the vision, the traction organizer. So we determined the core purpose, the core values, the 1 year, 1 year plan, picture, all that, the big target. So, and if I had done it differently, I would have established that leadership team first and get them involved in building that VTO. So that's something that was kind of big. Now, I'm not saying that we were like way off in our VTO and doing that. It's just when you get a greater sense of buy-in when you get those leaders in the room to develop and understand what that looks like. So they're all bought in on day one, right? So I more or less kind of just plop this in their laps and like, this is the way we're going to row. And and as a result, we have made tweaks. We've actually thrown a couple core values out, replace them with others that fit with our organization. So it's still been healthy as we've gone along. The self-implementation only works up to a point, right? And with our really big, hairy, audacious goals about growing with multiple locations down the road, it's more necessary than ever to kind of bring in that third party, such as yourself, Barry, to kind of come in and have those outside eyes on the organization in implementing these tools to really allow us to have very necessary dialogue and very healthy dialogue to discover some of the really big issues in expanding and growing and making sure that 10-year plan or that 10-year target's really fulfilled down the road. So it's really necessary to kind of have that, and Barry will tell you too, he kind of hopes that you fire him in 2 years anyway, right? Because Absolutely. You want to get so good and get to a point and being able to implement all the tools in the toolbox and them like the back of your hand, that you're going to get to a point where you can just take over and take control of the annuals and the quarterlies and all that good stuff. So that is the goal. It's not supposed to be, Barry's not supposed to be there long term. He's to implement all the tools to be there for that, for say a couple of years to get you going and get the ground rolling. And then, hey, it's on you. and you can roll on with it. So it's absolutely instrumental, because there are tools that I didn't know even existed that we weren't using or utilizing, right? And so as a result of getting Barry in there, that's when we were really kind of forced to have those weekly L10s, which, I think of any of the components that were the most crucial to us is, inside that traction component, having those weekly L10s. Got to have the open communication. You can't let things fester. Having the open dialogue, it's just critical, mission critical.
Yeah, I mean, anybody on here will tell you, I get bored after about 2 years. I think, Carm, you even know that. And so I love EOS because I'm not a consultant, and I try to do my best, even though you guys know that I'm a aftermarket trainer like I was before. I don't do any of that anymore. So that's okay. Now when I come in, I don't act as a consultant. I'm an EOS implementer. I'm there to teach you the timeless tools and disciplines. Sometimes I get them mixed up, but I do my best. Carl joked, his job was to just sit down and be quiet. And we have the curse of knowledge. And I've known Carl for a long time. I was in a group with him. And so we're friends, and our jobs, Carl's and mine in that moment, was to be quiet, let his team do the speaking, let them create. And they created, a few $100,000 more of revenue that he had no idea. The beauty of it is the next year they executed on it with reckless abandon, because they owned it. And so when they own it, it's their idea. They have no choice but to execute. They were tired at the end of the year, but they got it done. And then profitability. And my wife jokes with me. She said, you should really not charge just a fee. You should just make an agreement that they'll pay you the increase of the profitability. And I'm like, I've tried that. But they'll be overpaying me grossly. And it's what I want you to know is it's not me. It's the system and the leadership team. I want you to graduate after 2 years from me. You never graduate from EOS. I run out of stuff to teach you in 2 years. I don't want to be in your business. We want to work on your business. You teach you the tools and disciplines so that you become the expert, and I can graciously walk away. You can refer me, whatever. We're good.
Guys, I'm a shop owner listening to this, not involved in EOS, thinking this through, struggling in my mind. Do I have to be profitable, maybe not grossly profitable, but profitable in order to implement this? I'm not sure I have the team. Where do we find the time? Is it EOS first, profitability second? It seems to me that you were all at a certain level of profit and you wanted it to get bigger, better, faster.
I want Justin to take this because he was respectfully the smallest when he started, and people would have said, well, with his revenue, he may not be able to afford it. Justin, won't you take that?
I did have some reservations when we started because I had that concern myself, but I went ahead and moved forward because I think at the time, our yearly revenue, I think it was around $600,000 a year.
Yeah,
and we wasn't very profitable on that $600,000 a year, but I also knew we needed to make a change. So we had to do something. So I just went ahead and went in with EOS. Like AJ said, the word game changer, it's overused, but it definitely is, because we went from $600,000 within less than 2 years, we will more than double that. And it's, nothing that I've really done. It's just implementing the tools into the business, giving everyone ownership of their roles, letting them, kind of the same situation that happened with Carl happened with ourselves during our 2-day annual also. I had this, I think the number that I had set out for our goal for the year was $1 million or something like that. Then the guys come back and said, $1 million? What in the world? We're going to set it at this. And I'm like, okay, that's not gonna, I just don't think we have the capacity for that. So we went with I think we scaled their goal back a little bit, raised my goal up, and we're going to blow our our goal out of the water this year. We're already pretty close to hitting what our yearly goal was, just by, having everyone they own their number in the scorecard. They know what their number needs to be. So they work every week to hit their number, and we discuss it in our weekly L10s. Everyone's accountable for it. They do not want to come to the L10 and not hit their number. We probably couldn't afford it, I thought, when we started, but once we started implementing the tools, the profitability just happened. We unlocked something in the business that I don't think we didn't know we had it.
Carm here, and coming up, find out from my guests what is their favorite part of EOS. With registration now open for Apex 2021 in Las Vegas, you can already feel the excitement building for this year's homecoming. Hey, I can't wait to reconnect with all of you in person and share stories of our time apart, both personal and professional. I also can't wait to sit in on the technical and business management training that was designed and is specifically for you, the service professional. Now, with more than 20 sessions, you'll hear from the best of the best, including Guy Vesco, who will lead a session on hybrid and EV high voltage systems, and Greg Bunch, an expert on mastering the art of trust-based selling. Hey, make sure to also experience the new Repair Shop HQ in Joe's Garage. It's designed with you in mind. And visit the show floor to see many new products and emerging technologies. The dates again, November 2nd through the 4th, 2021. Be there. Register now. AAPEXshow.com. Are you stuck in small ticket rut? Well, that's exactly what happened to Dominic Linden and the team at Autobahn Service in Sheffield, Massachusetts. With the busy day-to-day bustle of shop operations, they didn't have time to chase customers for approval. They were caught in a cycle of low AROs, and they were losing those higher ticket jobs to competitors. Autobahn Service was introduced to Shopware, and just a few months after going live, the shop was so busy with new jobs that they actually needed to lower their car count. They are now able to be selective with the services they take on, and profits have never been better. Additionally, by tapping into Shopware's digital estimating capabilities, Autobahn Service has noticed an 89% average approval rate from customers. Their average RO before Shopware was $450, and now it's up to $700. Now, that's a 55% increase. Do the math. Reach your customers faster and get approved dollars up. GetShopware.com. Guys, is one of the secrets not only bringing your people their area of responsibility, passing on their job to them, own it, is it sharing the numbers is one of the biggest keys? Before this, did you share numbers?
Not really. So no one really knew where we stood. They didn't know where they stood either. Knowing where they stand is where the key is, because they didn't know where they stood in the business, and they didn't really understand how, their work affected the overall picture. So whenever you go through and you break it down, okay, JC, your job is this, and this is how you help us reach this big picture. So every week, this is what your goals are, and this is the numbers you need to hit, and if you hit them, you're going to help us reach the.
So I want to build on that really quick, Justin. So number one, you need to tell us about the average technician's age in your shop, and number two, I want you to talk about the average experience technician has when they get to your shop. Go.
Our average technician age. Let me just do some quick math in my head right now. Is probably about 26. So we have a very, very young team. We are currently interviewing an old guy. I'm taking him and his wife out to dinner tomorrow night, actually.
Older.
Yeah. Well, he's 39.
Oh.
So we are a very, very young team. We still have some growing pains. And, during our L10 meeting, one of the things I said, because we were dealing with some of our growing pains and just some mistakes that had happened due to lack of experience. And I said, look, guys, there's 9 of us sitting at the table. Only 3 of us have more than 3 years of experience in the automotive business. Can we just think about that for a minute? I said, more than half of our team only has around a year of experience in the automotive business. So whenever you consider that, we're crushing it. I mean, we're doing a great job. We're delivering excellent customer service. We're delivering excellent repairs. You know, we don't make a ton of mistakes, so quit beating yourself up. You know, I kind of appreciate that you guys are, because you want to improve. That's great. I would be more concerned if you didn't care about the mistakes. So yeah, we have a very, very young team. Bunch of freshmen over here.
Hey, Carm, I'd like to speak to that question that you posed earlier. You know, if I'm a shop owner and I'm listening to this, do I have to be profitable? Where do I need to be? How do I make these decisions, if that's okay? We all had to make these decisions early on, whether you join a 20 group or wherever. I mean, I can remember the first time thinking, how in the world am I going to pay that fee every month to join a 20 group? And it's like, we don't even think about it now. It's just a blip on the radar. And the same thing with this. I think once you get to this point, you're looking to elevate the whole place. You're looking to get to the next step or the next level. And it's amazing how much money that we spend on acquisition and retention and just all of these things. And honestly, that's what I looked at. It's like, well, so if I went out and hired an implementer to get this thing started, I'm going to spend X amount of dollars. Well, that's not even, just a portion of our marketing budget or our advertising budget. So if I was to take that money and spend it on internal advertising, you can almost look to it that way and say, this is internal. How do I fix it from the inside out? I don't need more customers. I need to be more efficient. I need to be able to figure out how do I get my sales training up? How do I get my production up? How do I get my efficiency up? How do I do all these things? And when you look at it from that standpoint, it was a very small investment for the return. And, from a shop owner standpoint, that we're always looking at, well, if I spend money, how do I get money back? Where's the return on that? So looking at it from that way, you've got the money as a shop owner. You have the money somewhere, somehow. I mean, you're already budgeting it somewhere. It's just a matter of moving it around or making that decision instead of doing direct mail for however long. Maybe I'm going to do this and spend that money here. And I think you'll be amazed at the return that you get because it's internal. It's not external. You're fixing problems inside that you didn't even know that you had. So yeah, it's scary. I mean, I think we've all thought that at some point in time. It's like, holy cow, it's scary. You've got the ability to do it and really to trust your team. And I love what AJ said about trying to do all this yourself and get all this implemented and going first. And I'll go back to what I said earlier. Your team's vision is not your vision. I mean, you've got one vision. You think you want however many millions of dollars in sales or 10 stores or 100 stores or whatever. But it's really cool to see when your team says something different and it's bigger than what you imagine and it's better than what you imagine. And it comes out of their mouth and they own it. And they go, oh, yeah, we do need to hire 2 more people. Oh, yeah, we do need training. Oh, yeah, we do need this piece of equipment. Instead of me going out there going, you need to take some training because your whatever is not good enough. But when they say it, it's totally different. And all of a sudden they find time to do these things.
Guys, it's amazing. The acceptance of your people, I continue to hear that. They were on board. Is that a determining factor of why people will not flip the switch and do this? Because they don't think their people will accept it or even have the qualifications to lead this?
I'll answer it. For years, and I've been in this business a long time, and for years, it felt like if it wasn't me coming up with the ideas, and you could never get buy-in with the people, you tried to tell them they were empowered. It was frustrating, especially as a visionary, to just try to steer the shop, and then nothing would happen. Nothing would get integrated. And it was amazing with this system how when we started with the 4 people in our leadership team, they themselves went out and empowered the rest of the shop under them. It was amazing to see the buy-in. It was something I haven't seen in ever. You come up with these ideas and nothing happens. This is an idea that came up and it just took off in a few months. And to go from not thinking I'd ever be able to take. It was 2 months. It wasn't a month. It was 2 months. That's okay that we took off. I mean, we came back and forth a bit, but when I left, I remember saying it was a test, and things kept being implemented while we were gone. It was the buy-in was just amazing to me. I almost looked at it as a miracle. I mean, it was that kind of thing, and the shops totally bought in from every employee from every corner of the shop. They're bought into it.
So one of the issues that they were having, I remember big issues was they had a coach, and he's a great coach. I know him. And they would say, well, the coach says, the coach says, the coach says. And that's big pushback. So I said, dude, you should never even mention my name because Barry didn't say anything. These guys know, and you know, Carm, I ask a bunch of questions and get a lot of answers from you. And a lot of people give me credit for those answers. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't say that. You did. And so I want to speak to AJ really quick, and I want to talk about how a industry specific coach or 20 group pairs with EOS, because they're totally different things, and what works, what doesn't work, like what, AJ, speak to that relationship.
Yeah, obviously, being part of 20 group has definitely gotten me as a better auto shop operator, right? You're learning all the facets, the industry specific marketing, the technician time management. You're learning about all these things and running and operating an automotive repair business. With running your business on EOS, for example, or all these tools, of course, that can be applied to any industry, right? They're very different. You're not going to learn these tools in a 20 group, right? Because 20 groups are really just going to speak specific to operations within our industry, right? And of course, we're learning about different marketing tactics and things like that. EOS will never speak to actually like how to hire people. It's going to really it's going to speak more to what types of people you should hire, right? So very, very different ways in coming to answers between the two. And I think it shouldn't drop one for the other or the opposite way. I think that they can work in tangent with one another, or work in parallel with one another to kind of make you the ultimate operator in automotive repair businesses. But what's fun about this is, like, as you're learning all these tools, it's like, holy crap, I could go run a dentist office on this, or you know what, I don't even like working on cars or being in the automotive repair business anymore. I'm going to start a bunch of food trucks, and I'm going to take these tools with me, and I'm going to do that, So it can apply to any industry, which is really the beauty about it.
A 20 group could run on EOS, and then what would happen with that 20 group? They would get more efficient, right? Like, EOS is a get stuff done system with a cohesive leadership team, right, that executes. It's an operating system. It's just like, when you have an operating system for your computer, it doesn't care what programs you're running as long as that program fits into that operating system. So the 20 groups gives you the industry specific software. EOS runs that software. It's the easiest way to put it in people's regard. So the difference is also, like, you should be in a 20 group or have a coach for a long period of time, because there's always changing things. EOS, after 2 years, you should know it as well as me, and you should graduate from me. I'm good.
One thing you'll find out is the GWC, the get it, want it capacity to do it. Because we had some people that we thought, would be great on the leadership team, and they agreed, and they said that they get it, they said that they want it, they said they have the capacity to do it, and then we find out that either they don't get it, or they don't want it, or they don't have the capacity. And then that's one of my favorite tools, because I'm kind of a softie. I don't like making personnel decisions. I really like hiring people, because I think one of my weaknesses is, and I think this is why we have a young team, I think I have the ability to see what someone can be and not what they are. Whenever I finally let you in, I'm committed to you, because I know what you can be in 5 years, 10 years, and I really believe in you. So it kind of makes it hard to make those decisions to let someone go. But whenever you put them into the people analyzer, as it's called, and you have your core values and you have the GWC component, it really makes it a black and white decision. What do we need to do with these people? Can they stay? Or, we're going to give them an option, the chance to correct any issues and to get back on board, because sometimes people do just fall off, and you need to remind them, hey, this is where you're falling behind. You're going to have 30 days to get back on track, and then we're going to follow up again. That is one of my favorite tools in the EOS process, because it kind of clears my mind and kind of takes the emotion out of it. This is where you're at. You got to make a decision. It's not Justin making a decision on whether you stay a part of our team. You're going to make the decision. This is what the tool says. You got 30 days to fix it, and then we're going to reevaluate. And you're in control of those 30 days. I'll let you know if I need to. I'll let you know what decision you made, but a lot of times you don't have to. They're just gone within the 30 days if they realize that they're not going to turn it around, which is great, because it makes it a lot easier on me. I think I've only had to let one person go since we started implementing EOS. The other people that did not fit into our core values, they left on their own.
Justin, let me follow up on that. I get it. I love it, by the way. Get it, want it, capacity, GWC. Are you using that discipline before you hire, as you evaluate that person, the questions that you ask, and then continue to use it to hone their skills after you hire them?
I am now. So, and this is a process I'm going through right now, because we are hiring another technician. So I had, about a 2-hour-long conversation on Tuesday with the potential candidate. I went through which is odd, I put an ad on Indeed last week. I've got 17 applications. A lot of them look promising. Called a couple in. A couple were a straight no, made it really quick, 5 minutes out the door. This gentleman, as we was going through all the questions, he kept answering everything correctly. So it lasted 2 hours. And, we shook hands. I said, hey, I'll be in touch with you if we want to move this forward. And I called him and said, hey, we're going to set up, a time for dinner with you and your wife if you would like. So we got a time on Friday. So going through this process has really slowed down the hiring, because even last year, heck, maybe even 6 months ago, I would have had this conversation. I said, hey, you want a job? This is your offer. When you want to start? Can you be here tomorrow?
But Justin, you wouldn't be inviting him to dinner if you didn't put him through GWC already by now, right?
Yes. And these were questions that I was asking in the interview process, and questions that I was asking that aligned with our core values to kind of see where he stood, because core values are super, super important. We've had some that they were missing one, and they weren't bad people. They just didn't fit into our system. They were great people. We're still friends, I think. But we just can't have them in our business. So yeah, you want to ask these questions during the interview process. That way you don't make them, because we know how expensive and costly and aggravating it is to hire someone that just doesn't fit.
Yeah, if you want to lose great people, tolerate those people.
Yeah, and we've been very close to that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm a softie.
Oh, yeah. He, out of all the people, and respectfully to him, he has the hardest time letting people go, because he is this. He acts tough on the exterior, but man, he's soft in the middle. He's just a good dude. He would never admit to it, though. But, I'm like, you have got to push. And then, like you said, the last 6 months. Now, I'm going to tell you, one of the best, and he's a nice guy, Carl, he's the best at just saying, you just don't fit, brother. So if you want to learn something about that, Carl is a good dude, cares deeply, but he will now. He does not suffer that kind of stuff. He just says, you're RP, RS.
I'd love to speak to the tools part of this, if you let me elaborate. That honestly, the tools that come with this program is something that I think we all take a stab at, but we don't know how to do it. That's the problem. I mean, if you got confrontational employees, or Who the heck ever heard of a below the line meeting or a people analyzer? I mean, who knew what all this stuff is? And, it's as tough as I appear, and probably Justin falls into the same category, is, we're just jello in the middle. But, I have a lot of emotional attachments to people, and you make decisions based on emotions. And when you start using these tools, and especially with a leadership team, the tools it's just so fantastic when the leadership team understands, hey, there's a problem. You go over to the toolbox. Which tool do you pull out? Oh, this is a clear the air meeting. All right, put these people in a room. I'm going to facilitate it. We just walked through one yesterday, and they thought they had the issue aired out before we ever got to the meeting. And it was really crazy, the tension that was there. And they both spoke their piece, shook their hands, and said, we're on the same page. I understand where you're at. You understand where I'm at. And, we know how to help each other now. And having that tool to pull out and use, man, it's crazy. And then the same way with the people analyzer, you start going down through hiring people or even evaluating your current staff. And it's like, oh yeah, this one's a below the line. And now all of a sudden it's a below the line meeting, as opposed to, oh, I got to go talk to them about this issue. Now it's, you have a tool, you can go to them, and it's like, these are our 5 core values. This is the one that we're struggling with, and let's put a plan together to help you. And, those tools are invaluable, just to go pull them out, and everybody's on the same page. I mean, everybody's read what the heck is EOS, or, to get your whole staff to read traction is a challenge. I'll tell you that right now. But if you can get them to read what the heck is EOS, and at least some of these books, to get them to understand this is the complete automotive way, and this is what we're basing it on, and these are the tools that we're going to use. So it's no surprise when you have a couple of people that have issues, you go pull them into a room, and it's like, all right, we're going to go have a clear the air meeting, and whatever's said here is not detrimental to your employment here, but this is a safe zone. You speak your mind, let's get it out in the open, and then we'll go from there.
I support the softy thing that Justin is. I really do. I get that. I would like to work for a guy like Justin who has the biggest heart in the world. But how I see EOS coming in to help Justin, who could make a lot of bad choices over his time because of that, is it brings structure to the critical decisions that you need to make.
Absolutely. And so, how do you, go around, like, what's your favorite tool? AJ, what tool really do you just lean on the most?
Oh, well, it's the format of the L10 meeting, hands down. It just adds structure. It's the same time, same day, every week. Everyone is there, except for vacation or death, right? Like yours. Right. So it just, you're 5 minutes on this topic, 5 minutes, you spend the most amount of time on the issues, right? And you're solving them. You determine at the end of the meeting what messages to cascade to the rest of the organization, and it just adds structure every week. And now that I have each department having their own L10s, they're going through that same exact process, and it's all documented. We distribute to-dos on a weekly basis. We come in the next week and we say, hey, what did you or didn't you get done? It holds people accountable, keeps the dialogue open. Game changer.
There you go. So I'd add two things about the L10. Like, it's the only meeting I'm not involved in. Probably why it's better than mine, and they run these L10s. And the second thing about it is, in the first 25 minutes of the agenda, you get an entire update of your entire organization at the company level, the departmental level, and the individual level. And most people don't get that update once a year, and you're getting it every single week, first 25 minutes spent. To AJ's point, that 60 minutes that you spend identifying, discussing, and solving problems to make them go away forever, issues to make them go away forever, and then creating to-dos with accountability and structure, and making sure things are, you're having fun and getting things done, right? So that's good. Jeff, what's your tool that you lean on and your go-to?
Can I say ditto? The level 10 meetings. A lot of people don't know that I stepped out of the industry for a little bit, or stepped out of the shop for a little bit, and I was an executive director of an automotive association. And quite frankly, we did weekly meetings. I didn't even realize I was doing these type of meetings, and we brought these weekly meetings in, and we discussed, and then they went out and we handled the issues. We didn't have this kind of structure. But when I came back to the shop, one of my biggest frustration is we didn't have structure to get things done. And the level 10 meeting just gives you that structure. And we hold each other accountable. If they don't have something done, it's why didn't you do it? Or, not in an accusing way, but, what were the challenges that didn't get it done? I think followed secondly by the right people, right seat. Basically, our team came together without any problem, but there were people in positions beyond the leadership team that they just weren't able to excel. They had heart for what we were doing. They believed in our mission, but they just weren't in the right seat. And Barry knows about one of those. It was a service advisor who is now a shop foreman, which is by far his biggest talent. And the throughput of our shop increased probably twofold so far. We don't have any tech out there struggling, not getting something done because the shop foreman's there to help them out and do that. And Barry knows I was scared to do that. I said, where's the money coming from? If I'm going to pay this kind of salary for this person to not be a service advisor, I said, to match that pay to put him in shop foreman, I was scared. I'm not afraid to admit it. I had a lot of fear. But the numbers started because of implementing EOS. The numbers started increasing slowly, like a snowball. It kept gaining speed. And I just finally flipped the switch, and we came together as in one of our weekly L10 meetings and said, let's go. Tomorrow's the day. Tell the individual that explain to the individual how we're changing, and he is excelling as shop foreman. I'm just totally amazed.
So that's one thing that I love. That's a GWC. That's a wrong seat. He was in the wrong seat. He was frustrated. He was frustrating other people, right? Mm-hmm. Great core values fit. But if you don't GWC a seat, you simply can't own it. And that is just the way it goes. And so he followed the 10 commandments of issue solving to get there. And so, the 10 commandments of issue solving are super important.
Yes.
Right. And so, my favorite is thou shalt not be a weenie. That's a really good one. Right. Thou shalt not rule by consensus is the first one. And so just decide, right? Be decisive is a great one, right? So there's 10 commandments of that. And so we need to follow those 10 commandments of issue solving, and we get what we want. And so they just decided.
My favorite tool out of the toolbox, I've got a couple, but probably my favorite's the VTO, the Vision Traction Organizer. I think one of my weak spots as a leader is casting the vision, getting everyone to understand what the vision is and how we're going to reach it. And the Vision Traction Organizer just gets everything out of my head, out of the team's head, and we get to put it on a piece of paper or digital format. But we get it where it's visual. We set our 1-year plan. What is our revenue goal going to be? What's our profit goal going to be? What are our measurables to get there? We set our goals for the year. So it's there, and we refer to it during our meetings. We get to set our rocks, and it's just a great tool to get everything out of your head, get it on paper where everyone can see it, everyone can understand it, and it gets everyone focused on the goal and how we're going to accomplish the goal.
Since you guys already took the L10 meeting and the vision or VTO, the system does not work without the L10 meetings. It just absolutely does not work. If you're not going to do that, don't do it. Honestly, as much as I hate being the integrator, I work so hard at not being the integrator, but I love the to-do lists. And I'm a box checkered, mark it off the list, write it on a piece of paper, scratch it off, get it done. The to-do list is all incorporated into it. But yeah, I see that back there. I'm going to check some of the boxes off. And honestly, I've got some people on my team that's what they do. I mean, Tori's just a fantastic box checker. I mean, if it's written on a piece of paper, my God, it's got to get done. I mean, it's just got to get done. And that's the power of that to-do list. And, we just had our L10 meeting yesterday, and I walked away with a whole list of things to do. And honestly, I was up late last night knocking some off, some this morning to get them done. And that's the power of making all this work. That tool in itself, everybody knows what their to-do list is, whether they walk away with 0 or whether they walk away with 10 things. They know what they got to get done between now and next week, or the 90-day ones are the big ones. And we're working on those, and you got time to get them done. So that to-do list is huge.
Carl, did you wean yourself away from the micro side of the to-do list, and now you're just worrying about big picture stuff?
We're in a transition mode right now. Some of you know that we've had some disruption in our leadership team, and I've had to step back into the integrator role for a short period of time until we get another integrator trained up and going. So yeah, I've jumped into 2 roles, and yes, when we had that role filled, my to-do list was very small. My to-do list was to make sure the integrator got his to-do list done. That was pretty much it. But now that I'm in that role again, it's like, well, all of a sudden now I'm the one that's interviewing people, and I'm the one that's doing the HR docs, and I'm the one that's doing all these. So right now my to-do list is huge. But, we walked away from our L10 meeting yesterday with a plan of action of how to put people back into these roles. And it came from the leadership team. And that's what's huge. I mean, that's what's huge. Everybody said, yes, that's what we want to do. And we know this is the timeline, and these are the things we're going to do. And me being I sit in multiple seats, unfortunately, the finance and marketing and things of that nature. And, my comment to them was, okay, this is my role, but I'm leaning on you to get a lot of these things done. And they go, fine, that's what we're here for. And, that's huge. And they know I got a big to-do list, and they know the company has a big to-do list. But, yeah, they all know that I'm going to need help with it. So they, even the ones that are not on the leadership team, they understand, because we're not talking about cascading messages yet, but man, you got to throw those things out there and go, this is what's happening. And everybody knows, oh, okay, so where do I help? What can I do? And we never had that before. It was all like, well, that's not my role. And now it's, well, what can I do to help you get done what needs to get done? Because I think everybody understands that the leadership team works, and when all the pieces are in place, things run really smooth. So yeah, I vote for the to-do list.
So what's really cool, one last thing is none of these guys call me between the meetings really to ask me my opinion. And when I was an industry coach, that's all I would get. Like, I was a problem solver, and it weighed heavily on me. I was like, holy crap, man, what if I give them the wrong advice? Like, it happened, and it happens, because none of us are as smart as all of us. And so my favorite thing is like, they're like, none of them said the quarterly or the 2-day annual, which kind of hurts, guys. But no, I mean,
that's not the power of it. Yeah.
Yeah. You have these quarterlies, they create their plan. You teach them the L10, and I never get calls. And I'm like, holy cow, this is awesome, freeing. At first it was scary, because I thought, why ain't anybody calling me anymore? And then, are they going to fire me? You don't know. But now you're just like, well, I show up, I run their quarterlies and annuals. They create their plan. They have tools. I'll get the heck out of their way.
You did your job.
The disruption that we're going through at this point, that was a lot of the external advice that I got was, well, everybody knows that Barry's in my circles. So it was like, well, you need to call Barry and see what he says. And it's like, well, let's take it to the leadership team first. The plan come out of the leadership team, and not to knock any advice that he would give or not give, but that's not his position. Your implementer is not, you're not the guy you lean on for these decisions. Because I guarantee you, him or anybody in that role is going to ask me about 100 questions, and all the answers are going to come out of my mouth, not his. So,
and the first question I'm going to ask is, have you talked to your leadership? Have you taken to your L10? And if they can't solve it in the L10, they put it on their VTO issues list, and we solve it in a quarterly or an annual. And that's where I do. I mean, I work with, yesterday I worked with a what's called a DSO, a dental company that they have 27 locations. And, I see so much that I do have new paradigm shift and new questions to ask because of the scale and different industries. Only a few of my clients are automotive repair, and the rest are flooring companies and marketing companies and all kinds of different dentists and whatever, right? So what they're doing is they're using their tools. You have a board of directors, industry specific geniuses in your own shop. They know they're doing the work, and they know. Use the tools to extrapolate that board of directors' knowledge and put it into the system, and it works. None of us are as smart as all of us. I do not get think that I'm, whatever. It's be humbly confident. And all these guys that you see in front of you are humbly confident, and they're executing the disciplines and getting the heck out of the way as well.
Well, the EOS entrepreneurial operating system works across all industries. It just so happens that Barry is a certified implementer, and he knows so many of us in the aftermarket.
I love it.
What a great segue for you to bring this to so many leaders. I don't think we're ever going to stop talking about this. Welcome you guys all to come back maybe a year down the road and, see how many stores you have, how many yachts you have down in Miami, and all that really neat stuff by you taking some of the fruits of your labor and having fun with it. Thank you so much to this great panel. Barry Barrett, EOS certified implementer. Carl Hutchinson, Hutchinson's Complete Automotive, Springfield, Missouri. Yeah. AJ Neely's Auto Service, Edgewater, Maryland. Justin Barrett, Barrett Automotive, Cornelia, Georgia. And Jeff Walter from Zimmerman's Automotive, Tire Pro Auto Sales and Service. Say hello to Judy for me.
We'll do that.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time.